Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Update 24 channel. I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up before we dive into today's Young and the Restless update. Spoilers for The Young and the Restless suggest that a fatal whodunit involving Matt Clark, also known as Mitch Bacall, may be in the works. Is the next deadly mystery in YNR already in development? To begin with, it sounds like a temporary affair because Roger Howarth signed on for a crucial story arc. Now that we know Howarth is portraying the evil Matt Clark, that makes perfect sense. It's crucial to remember that characters as nasty as Matt usually don't last forever. The episode is already hinting at Matt's eventual disappearance or incarceration. Matt may not be as fortunate the next time, but he managed to avoid death in the past and obtain this new life as Mitch. Nick Newman openly threatened to kill Matt in the November 6th episode if he attempted to approach Nick's family or anybody else he held dear. Nick might be added to the suspect list if Matt, also known as Mitch, is later discovered because he made such a sinister pledge. We might also envision a scenario in which Sienna Bacall murders Matt in self-defense or to break out from the terrible marriage she finds herself in. It could be Sienna's only chance to escape Matt's perilous hold. We could even imagine Noah rising up to defend Sienna and erasing Matt from the map because of their romantic relationship. Depending on how this plot develops, Sharon Newman is another figure who might deal Matt a lethal blow. The supposedly fictitious Detective Burrow may also be involved if he becomes sufficiently irritated by Matt's shenanigans. Additionally, Holden Novak and Audra Charles are connected to Mitch, also known as Matt, because of the entire wallet incident at the Shadow Room. Eventually, Audra and Holden might find themselves embroiled in a lethal Matt tale. In summary, Matt is incredibly nasty, and he will demonstrate this in the upcoming weeks as he intensifies his concerning actions. The likelihood that someone may need to take lethal action to stop Matt increases as he descends. Stay tuned for updates on any Matt-related news because that might result in a whodunit plot with a vast list of suspects. According to previews for The Young and the Restless, Matt will continue to act villainously and may become a deadly target as a result, regardless of how everything turns out. The Restless Young, according to previews and updates, Nick Newman has always been very different from Victor Newman, his father. Is it possible that Nicky Newman had a one-night stand a long time ago? Was it really with Victor that Nick was born from a one-night stand? That one-night stand gave rise to Nick. But soap operas frequently alter their past, so this is still a possibility. This is particularly true because Nick and Victor are total opposites. Victor is a real evil, while Nick is a kind person. Victoria Newman is the female equivalent of the mustache, and all of Victor's other children appear to inherit certain characteristics from him. Adam Newman and his pops have the same grit. Nick tends to behave impulsively, while Abby Winters has a practical and business-oriented brain, even though she leans toward her Abbott side. Victor is calculated, whereas Nick is impulsive. Nick's impetuous and illogical behavior, which casts doubt on his paternity, cannot be disregarded. Nick's visit to the Shadow Room on Wednesday, November 5th, was a blatant example of this. He was excited to face Mitch Bacall, whom Sharon Newman believes to be Matt Clark. While Mitch, Detective Burrow, and Sienna Bacall were conversing, he watched them from a distance. Nick made the stupid decision to face Mitch/Matt by unexpectedly hitting him rather than adopting a more calculated strategy, such as going back to the hospital to talk with Sharon about what to do next. Nick thinks Mitch is Matt. He obviously believes Mitch to be Matt, which is why he assaulted him, a decision that was foolish in many ways. Do you want to watch The Young and the Restless more often? Get the most recent information on The Young and the Restless delivered right to your email. Website your email address. Sign up as stated in our privacy notice. We utilize your personal information for interest-based advertising. Nick's aggressive move against Mitch/Matt not only eliminated the element of surprise, but it also put him in danger of being arrested for assault by the Los Angeles police. In what way would that help Noah Newman or Sharon? Furthermore, regardless of his actual identity, the punch will simply provoke Mitch/Matt. This paternity narrative was made possible by Nick's approach, which was very different from how his father would have handled the matter. Paradoxically, Hothead Nick is a goody two-shoes as well. Strangely, a hothead Nick has always been inconsistent. But he also frequently follows his heart rather than his head when making snap decisions. For example, following their split, He provided funding for Sally Spectra's firm without requesting a refund when it collapsed. Additionally, despite Adam Newman's desire to care for Christian Newman, he lawfully adopted his brother's child. Nick is a pushover in many situations, making stupid choices that make Victor shake his head. Nick's temper is bad. He also has a short fuse. Despite his generally good intentions, his way of living and conducting business has irritated his father. However, striking Mitch or Matt is the most heinous act. Might this result in a different plot? Could that make people wonder if Nick is really Victor's son? Did Nikki have a short-lived affair with an unidentified person that might soon come to light? According to spoilers for The Young and the Restless, anything can happen in daytime soap. Thus Nick might very well be the son of someone else. Make sure to stay up to date on all that is currently going on with Y&R. Return frequently for news, updates, and spoilers about The Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless spoilers are in for Monday, November 10th, 2025. In the next episode, fans can expect Audra Charles to threaten Holden Novak. Sally Spectra and Billy Abbott don't agree. Plus, Victor Newman reminds Phyllis Summers about their deal. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Phyllis Summers' scheme. Let's start off with Phyllis, who stole Kane Ashby's AI program. Of course, the redhead is already becoming a suspect to Kane. However, he also recently admitted to Lily Winters that he hired Phyllis because of her hacking skills. At the same time, why hasn't he struck back yet? Maybe there is another reason why Kane is holding on to Phyllis for the time being. Victor Newman's reminder. Phyllis immediately went to Victor and wanted to make a deal with him. That deal was made, but Victor is forced to remind Phyllis about the terms of their arrangement. So it sounds like Phyllis is stalling. Sally Spectra vs. Billy Abbott. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, November 10th reveal that Sally and Billy will not agree on something. It seems these two are a real mismatch. Why Sally is still with Billy is beyond me. In any case, it seems that Billy is still making risky moves and decisions. So, Billy could think up another bold move, one that Sally doesn't agree with at all. Could this be what breaks their relationship? Monday, November 10th, 2025. As for Holden, he told Claire Grace Newman the story of how he met Audra. The blonde didn't give the whole story, or even a true one. There might have been roots that were truthful, but then Holden had to cover. Then, Holden went to warn Audra about it. Audra will issue a threat to Holden. That is when Holden bites back and says the reason why he told Claire that story was so she wouldn't start digging. The young man added that neither of them want the truth to come out. Maybe this isn't about stolen money, but about a murder? That's the only crime I could think of that would have Audra really rattled. There's also the situation with Noah Newman, Sienna Bacall, and Matt Clark aka Mitch Bacall. So stay tuned. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Monday, November 10th, 2025? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to keep watching the soap on CBS or Paramount Plus to find out what happens next. For weeks, Genoa City has been buzzing about the chaos surrounding Holden. The once confident executive finds himself trapped between loyalty and self-preservation. A risky decision he made months ago, one that blurred the line between business and crime, finally circles back. When the episode opens, Holden is alone in his apartment, staring at a folder filled with incriminating documents. His mind replays every warning he ignored, Victor's veiled threats, Audra's hints that someone was digging into his accounts, and Sally's quiet plea for him to come clean before it's too late. But the fear of losing everything had kept him silent. Now silence may cost him more than his career. Holden's phone rings. The number is blocked. A voice distorted by static orders him to meet at the old industrial park. If he refuses, certain evidence will appear on the GCPD server by morning. The moment the call ends, he realizes the trap. Someone wants him frightened and desperate. Still he goes. That single choice sets the rest of the day in motion. Sally's battle. While Holden drives toward trouble, Sally Spectra is locked in her own confrontation across town. After the collapse of her latest design deal, she's facing bankruptcy. Her partner warns that the investors are pulling out unless she distances herself from Holden's name, now whispered in scandal. Sally refuses. You don't abandon people when they're sinking, she insists. Yet the words tremble with uncertainty. Her career has always balanced on stubborn optimism. This time, the stakes feel heavier. Chelsea drops by, offering comfort and a pointed question. Are you helping Holden because you believe he's innocent, or because you can't face losing another man to corruption and tragedy? Sally doesn't answer. She pours more coffee, pretending to study sketches that suddenly seem childish compared to the storm outside. The audience senses her internal war, loyalty versus survival. She promises herself she'll find the truth before Genoa City decides for her. The trap springs. Night falls. Holden steps into the shadowed warehouse, headlights slicing through dust. Instead of his blackmailer, he finds two men waiting, enforcers hired by the mysterious client. They search him, seize his phone, and hand him a thumb drive. Deliver this to Chancellor Winter's main server tomorrow, one orders. Then everything goes away. Holden knows better. The drive likely holds stolen corporate data or evidence that will implicate him even deeper, but refusing might mean he won't leave the building alive. The scene crackles with fear as he bargains for time. A sudden noise outside, a siren or maybe footsteps, gives him a chance to bolt. He dives behind a stack of crates and escapes through a side door, barely avoiding a bullet that ricochets off metal. By the time he reaches his car, his hands shake uncontrollably. He calls Sally. If anything happens to me, he says, don't trust anyone who offers to help. Especially not Phyllis. Then the line goes dead. Phyllis reminded. At the Grand Phoenix, Phyllis Summers enjoys a rare quiet evening until she receives an anonymous envelope slid under her suite door. Inside, a single photograph, Holden meeting the men at the warehouse, and a note, you warned him once. Did he listen? The image drags Phyllis backward in time. Years earlier, she'd been caught in a similar web, trusting the wrong ally and paying with her reputation. She stares at the photo, realizing the pattern repeating itself. Her instinct screams to destroy the evidence and stay out of it. But her conscience won't let her. For all her manipulative brilliance, Phyllis can't watch another person tumble into a trap she recognizes too well. She phones Nick, half hoping he won't answer. When he does, she hesitates. Nick, I think someone's framing Holden. And if I'm right, Sally's next. Nick sighs. He's tired of Phyllis's crises. Yet something in her voice, unusually calm, almost fearful, makes him listen. Sally and Phyllis cross paths. The next morning, Sally storms into Crimson Lights looking for caffeine and courage. She nearly collides with Phyllis at the counter. Their relationship has always been prickly. Today, it borders on explosive. Phyllis tries diplomacy. We need to talk about Holden. Sally snaps. I don't take advice from people who thrive on chaos. Phyllis slides the photograph across the table. Then take proof. Sally studies the image, her face draining of color. Where did you get this? Phyllis shakes her head. That's not important. What matters is that whoever sent it wants us at each other's throats. Despite herself, Sally listens. They agree to meet later to trace the note's origin. It's an uneasy alliance. Two women too alike to trust but too smart to ignore danger. Holden's disappearance. By noon, Holden's. She smiles faintly. For the first time in a while, yeah. But I've got a feeling this mess isn't done. Someone's moving pieces we haven't even seen yet. Her intuition proves right. A courier delivers a sealed envelope addressed to her in handwriting she hasn't seen in years. Inside is the same thumb drive that started it all, and a note. Next move is yours. Phyllis exhales slowly, realizing the game continues, and Genoa City's next storm may already be brewing. Closing thoughts. As the dust settles, the three threads, Holden's jeopardy, Sally's battle, and Phyllis's awakening, interweave into a single theme. Redemption at a cost. Holden faces legal scrutiny, but also a chance to rebuild his integrity. Sally regains the spark that made her fearless in both art and life. Phyllis, reminded of her own darker chapters, begins to act from conscience instead of impulse. In true Young and the Restless fashion, victory feels temporary. Each character has learned that truth doesn't end a story. It just opens another door. And behind that door waits the next betrayal, the next secret, and the next opportunity for salvation. Apartment is empty. His car sits abandoned near the industrial park, driver's door open, engine cold. The police treat it as a possible kidnapping. Chance Chancellor quietly suspects a staged disappearance. Nick, learning that Sally's name is floating around the investigation, calls her to warn against interference. But Sally, armed with Phyllis's evidence, insists she can clear Holden. The tension between them flares. "You think every man in trouble is a lost cause," she accuses. "Maybe I'm trying to prove not everyone deserves to be written off." Nick retorts, "Or maybe you're trying to save yourself from admitting you picked another disaster." The argument leaves both shaken, hinting at lingering attraction neither wants to admit. The search and the revelation. Phyllis hacks into a public records terminal, tracing the notes paper to a defunct printing company once owned by, of course, Tucker McCall. The clue leads to a warehouse lease under a dummy corporation. She and Sally drive there, tension high. Inside they find Holden's wallet, blood on the floor, and a smashed phone. Before they can call the police, a figure steps from the shadows. Tucker himself, smug as ever. He claims innocence. "I rent space to dozens of businesses," but his smirk says otherwise. Then he drops a bombshell. Holden had discovered irregularities linking Tucker's offshore accounts to an anonymous investor, and that investor is none other than Victor Newman. Sally reels. "You're lying." Tucker shrugs. "Check the data on that thumb drive if you can find it." "Oh wait, you already did." He disappears before they can react, leaving the women terrified and uncertain whom to trust. Phyllis's flashback and resolve. Back at her suite, Phyllis sits alone, piecing everything together. The events mirror her own downfall years ago when she was manipulated into betraying allies under the guise of saving them. This is what the note meant, reminded. It isn't only about Holden, it's about her repeating history. She calls Sally again. "Listen carefully. Whatever happens next, don't let guilt make your choices. That's how they control you." Sally, overwhelmed, barely absorbs the warning. Her phone buzzes, a new message with a location pin and a photo of Holden, bruised but alive. Beneath it, "Come alone or he dies." The rescue attempt. Sally rushes to the address, a derelict cabin outside town. Unknown to her, Phyllis follows at a distance, having guessed she'd go alone. Inside, Sally finds Holden tied to a chair, his face swollen, one eye nearly shut. "They want the drive," he gasps. "If I don't hand it over, they'll finish me." Before Sally can respond, one of the masked men returns. She hides behind a beam, clutching a piece of broken glass as a weapon. The intruder pulls out a gun, but a loud crash from outside, Phyllis kicking the door, breaks his focus. Chaos erupts. Sally cuts Holden's ropes. Phyllis swings a metal rod. The attacker flees into the woods. By the time the sirens wail, both women are covered in dust and adrenaline. Holden is safe but shaken. When Chance arrives, he demands statements, but Phyllis gives only one line. "This isn't over. Whoever started this wanted a war, and they're about to get one." Sally's reckoning. Days later, Holden remains under police protection. Sally sits in her apartment staring at sketches she can't bring herself to finish. The media paints her as either a heroine or a fool, depending on the outlet. She chooses neither label. Instead, she visits Holden at the hospital. He apologizes for dragging her into danger. She forgives him, but gently. "We both made choices. Maybe next time we pick better allies." Their handshake feels like closure, and a beginning. Outside the room, Nick watches silently, his expression unreadable. When Sally turns to leave, Nick stops her. "You nearly died for him." "I nearly died for the truth," she answers. He nods, grudgingly impressed. For once, they understand each other without arguing. Phyllis's reflection and warning. Meanwhile, Phyllis sits at the bar of the Grand Phoenix, reflecting on how close she came to repeating her past mistakes. She keeps the original photograph tucked inside her phone case as a reminder, not of guilt, but of growth. Daniel joins her, curious. "Mom, you okay?"